Hey, Young, what's going on?
So I have a hand from Mohegan Sun. This
Okay.
is 510, and we're nine-handed.
So Mohegan Sun, 510. Is there a cap in this game or is it uncapped?
2500. That's a cap.
Okay.
And the 510 gets pretty decent late on Fridays and Saturdays. That's
Okay.
the only time I play.
Okay.
Cool. So it's a good game. There's about four wrecks. Anyway, onto the action. We're 3K effective. And I make a 3X from, what was it? What's it right? Low jack with a jack of spades, jack of hearts.
So you go to 30 from the low jack with jack of spades, jack of hearts. Okay. Is that about the standard open size in this game?
It is 3X is standard. Sometimes people open like small blind to 25. There are some wrecks who make it 35, but I just kind of land on 3X.
Hmm.
All right, so I make a 3X. Small blind, he's a reg. He makes it 150.
Okay. So small line three bets to 150. Okay.
Yeah. And here I need some opinions on how to read this sizing because usually standard three bets have been 100, 125.
I mean, I think the sizing's fine when you're this deep for sure from him. I don't think it's that odd a sizing. I mean, if you, I mean, you're supposed to be going somewhat large. It's a weird thing when you get very, very deep when you're actually supposed, it's
Mm-hmm.
a weird thing in theory, but I'm talking about like over 500 bigs, to 1,000 bigs where you're incentivized to keep the pot small. But personally, I think a lot of people go too small from out of position with three bets. I mean, this was heads up, right? There was no dead call, but I don't think that there's anything real weird with this. And then another thing that you see, it kind of as a reflection, is like right around the 100 big blind effective stack. You see this online quite a bit, where you see guys go really, really large from out of position so that people can't set mine pairs. I mean, you're a little bit in between, but I wouldn't read anything crazy into his sizing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
So I guess 150 is optimal.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to read this. He's seen me open frequently, and he's a capable player. So, Jack, is that ever a four bet here?
I don't think so. I think I'm calling here. I mean, you're opening from the low jack. He's three betting out of the small, but I mean, maybe once in a while. I mean, there's nobody else in the hand, so I would say,
Yeah, he was small blind.
yeah,
Not big blind, but big
small
blind
line. Yeah,
folded.
yeah.
Yeah. So here are flat calls. So
Okay,
we're
so
going
fair calls.
to
Okay,
the flop, which is 310.
okay,
Flop is a jack of diamonds, ten of clubs, four of spades.
okay.
And villain does not see bet. I'm trying to think of reasons why he's not continuing here. So how do you read that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would expect that this would get c bet quite a bit here.
Same.
I mean, especially if he's going to be three betting jacks and tens out of the small blind here. So yeah, it is. It's very surprising that he's not c betting. And, from your perspective, what I would say though, because obviously you smash the flop, right? You have top set. I don't see a whole lot of people just check folding here after they three bet all that much, especially if you don't even go super, super large. And even if he does have some slivers of check folds, it's not like you're going to make money from those hands that are going to check fold the flop anyways later on by slow playing. I would say,
Yeah.
I don't think he just starts a bluff. So when he gets checked to you, I would be doing a lot of betting, like with a high frequency is what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest reason I called in. I was just kind of taken aback and befuddled by his check. So that was kind of occupying my mind. I ended up checking behind. I think that was a key mistake.
Well, I mean, the only thing that you have to understand now is that by checking behind, obviously you've underrepresented your hand, and depending on what comes out, he might run into something that he thinks is good through value betting, or you might have to defend down on some boards that might come, I don't know, a little bit scary because you are so underrepped. I mean, that would be my whole thing. So okay, so you check behind pot's 310. Okay,
Yep. So going to the flop, still 310. The turn is the nine of diamonds.
okay. So king queen comes in here, but I mean, we would expect king queen, right, to usually bet, right, if they're going to three bet.
Yeah, how many king queens does he have?
Yeah.
So finally he bets 40% pot, 125.
By the way, too, some people chiming in here, Rashad, saying, once in a while you might run into, I mean, you said this guy's a reg. Once in a while you might run into some people that check ace king, too, in a spot like this. They're like, well, I've got the non-nut pair, right? But again, those hands are calling your bet, though, on the flop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you're saying he bets like 120 or something?
125.
All
That's
right.
about
So,
two-fifths pot.
so small blind bets 125. It's kind of interesting how. So you get a backdoor diamond here. So it's jack of diamonds, 10 of clubs, 4 spades, 9 of diamonds. Backdoor diamonds come in. You've got top set. It's kind of hard sometimes for me to put myself in this particular situation. So, king, queen gets there, which we think would probably be c-bet off a fair amount. What else comes in here? A hand like 7, 8 that, again, probably would be c-bet with maybe some frequency. I'm just trying to figure out what you're losing to if you ever need to sort of control pot size. And then if you had like 9, 9, you're going to get value from that. So I think I would do a lot of raising here if you check back the flop because I would expect king, queen to do a lot of betting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cards that can come that might just sort of kill the action away. You know what I'm saying?
On the turtle or
On the
river?
river, if you just
Yeah.
call, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of one-liners, diamonds, things like that.
Yeah. Point taken on all those reasons to
Mm-hmm.
raise. I flat call. Again, this is why I called in with this hand.
I'm just trying to get you, behind my what my thought process here in this one. So if I did check back the flop, I'd be doing a lot of raising on the turn for those reasons. So 250 here on the turn. So now it's 560. Okay.
The river is the 8 of hearts.
So wow, well that's one of those cards, right? So it puts a
Yeah.
one-liner out there to a queen,
Mm-hmm.
and puts a one-liner out there to a 7. I don't know if he has
Seven.
a 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, here's the question for you. I don't know what's going to happen here on the river. So let's say he checks the river. Are you going to value bet?
Probably not.
Really? I mean, you do have a lot of queen access played, I would say, for sure.
That's
Possibly.
true. Yeah. Hero has more queen X than villain.
Although, if you're calling a 3-bet, a 5x 3-bet, what hands do you have with a queen in it? It would be, what, ace queen, maybe some queen, queen, queen jack suited, queen 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose you could have some hands that you check back flop and call turn with. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
think of some. I mean, a lot of hands might want to be doing some betting on the flop with the
Queen,
queen.
queen,
But
queen. I'm four betting, and villain knows that. So I think you're right. Ace queen suited, ace queen, off, stuff like that. King, queen, queen 10, king queen. Anyway, yeah, this was a fun river. Villain bets 475, which is 80% pot.
wow. So small blind bets 475.
Yeah, so despite it being check on flop, it's still kind of a chunky pot right now. So yeah, your thoughts here?
Well, it's not a great run out for you. And like I said, I mean, you are definitely under repped. However, you do probably have some queens that you get here with. He's not betting full pot. So if you were to look at it sort of from an MDF perspective, you need to call down with maybe maybe 55% of the hands that you arrive here with, something like that, because he's risking just under the size of the pot. It's just like one of these things where when you're so under repped and you sort of, although you called the turn, the weird thing about this is that like when you call the turn, like your hand is usually going to be queen X, or you've run into some like 2-pair types of holdings here. I mean, unless you have like king 10, specifically like king 10 suited or something like that he's trying to get you off of. But it's usually not a river that someone's just going to airball bluff with here at the end. On the same time, like I said, I just Go Bird says I side call a lot. His queen X should bet the flop. We talked about that. So yeah, it's just kind of a weird one where like you've played it so weird that sometimes you just got to flick in the call because you're so kind of under repped here.
Yeah, as I was taking river, I'm trying to see what queen X gets here as played. Like, what queen X checks Jack 10 4 rainbow after three betting, like queen's continuing. To your point, you said ace queen as well. If he even bets it pre-flop, king queen, that's definitely betting. I just can't think of any, queen X that gets here.
Now, then one of the guys in the live chat, Magical 55, does make a good point. He says being under repped is irrelevant when your opponent is somewhat polarized. Which makes a good point if you think that he's basically polarizing here to, you know, he's saying he has a queen. I mean, I don't even know if a seven. If a seven ever got here, is it seven really even taking this line for this type of size? Like when you
No,
have so much queen X. So, if it's a queen X or nothing, then you start to look down at like, well, then the fact that I have Jack, the strength of the hand isn't relevant. How does that interact with him possibly, having a queen here? Well, I guess you cut out on some of the queen Jack suited combos. I guess one of them, right?
yeah,
Um,
queen Jack,
yeah,
club club, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened. I would say that it's definitely an underbluff spot, but as I talked about, I definitely would have played the hand differently earlier on. So what did you do? What ended up happening here?
I made the flat call, and he tabled ace eight of diamonds.
So ace eight of diamonds. So you just so he turned a diamond draw,
Yeah,
and
he
then
whiffed and just turned like the best card.
just kept going with it.
Yeah.
Kept going with it when it's interesting here. I wonder, does he ever? Just bear with me here. Like, does he ever have any showdown value here against either? Like, if you have ace king here, and you don't, like, say ace king off, does that make it so that he has enough showdown value where he doesn't have to? I mean, obviously he blocks ace king, that he doesn't have to bluff here. I just, again, because he's trying to bluff you off of such a sort of thin range of like king 10, king jack, maybe ace 10, ace jack that might have checked back flop. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
For sure, for sure.
But anyways, no, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bart. Bye.
All right. Yeah, usually that's just sort of definitely not a hand, not usually a run out that somebody bluffs on, but I do. It's an interesting little one if he ever has the showdown value against the ace king, but he needs to like bluff some of the jack X off and things like that don't continue straight. Thank you for the call, Young.